Can Tyler Shough win the Saints starting quarterback job? Rookie sleepers to watch for New Orleans, ladies and gentlemen. Rookie Minicamp 2025 began May 8th, so we're going to talk about it, shall we? We have Ross Jackson and this hombre right here. Let's go ahead and kick it off.
New Orleans Saints. They opened Rookie Minicamp here on Thursday. Ross Jackson, LouisianaSports.net. Locked On Saints. Go ahead, subscribe. Listen if you don't. You should. He's on Twitter at Ross Jackson Nola, and he joins us now. Ross, how are you? Happy Cam Jordan Day, Ross.
Happy Cam Jordan Day, buddy. Thanks for having me on, man. Glad to be here with you.
Absolutely. Okay, let's talk some Rookie Minicamp, because I look at this one, Ross, and I think it's one of the more intriguing ones in a while. First of all, they made all 9 picks, and you got 9 guys there. And then you have 11, undrafted.
Even if you remove the rookie, forget about the draft, forget about the 9 draft picks, forget about the rookies, forget about Tyler Shough and all that stuff. But we get to finally see Kellen Moore, Brandon Staley, this coaching staff, everything that we've talked about. We finally get to see some of it materialize on the field. As of right now, all we've talked about is theory and hypothetical this, and it hasn't been the X's and O's. It hasn't been actually on the field. But now, even though it's rookies, even though some of these guys won't even make the team or whatever, we finally get to see what Kellen Moore and Brandon Staley have up their sleeves.
And then you have a new coaching staff and everything in that regard. How important for the Saints is this year's Rookie Minicamp?
I think it's really important. I think you're hoping that this 9-person draft class, or at least some large portion of it, ends up being sort of that youth the New Orleans Saints could use at this.
Yeah, even now, if we are talking about the actual rookies that will be at camp, hugely important, because we've talked about it a million times. The Saints have to get impact. They have to get value out of these players. So how many of the 9 will we actually see on the field? Will we actually see contributing this year? I think a lot of them. I mean, let's say 6 of them, okay? Well, let's even say 5. But if they draft 9 players and 5 of them are actual impact players playing every week, contributing, that's a huge boom, all right? So I had someone in the comments who was like, well, not all 9 are going to work out, so they don't have to. You get 4 or 5 star players, 4 or 5 impactful players, starters for the future on rookie contracts, check mark.
Time, a la 2017. 2006. You can look at other drafts before then as well. But I think this is a really important one, and really kind of the end-all, be-all here when it comes to that conversation is Tyler Shough, right?
Yeah.
Amongst all the players at any position in which you hope that you land your future something, it's typically the quarterback position. And so that ends up making this draft class the one that includes the highest selected quarterback since 1971 in the NFL draft, not including the supplemental draft, which would go back to 1981 when Dave Wilson was selected. That is, Tyler Shough is the guy. And so that makes this draft class even all the more important with him being a part of it.
Okay, I was going to get to Tyler Shough, but since you brought it up, let's stay there. What's fair expectation for him through this Rookie Minicamp?
Shuck, I think we're going to see... If I had to guess, during Rookie Minicamp and during the beginning of this, we'll see Shuck physically. We'll see these throws that we keep hearing about, the arm strength, the arm talent. We'll see some of that materialize. It's not going to be until training camp / preseason that some of the question marks we have about Shuck may be answered one way or the other. Right? We do need to see him under pressure. We do need to see him move around in a live pocket. We do need to see him move around when he is not protected by the red jersey. So right now it's going to be, is the arm talent as good as we think it is? Is the arm talent truly separate from Rattler? What's that look like? So that I think will be the first bullet point for the Rookie Minicamp for Tyler Shough.
Yeah, I think that the fair expectation is just that he kind of, proves the coaching staff for him being their guy. And that doesn't mean, you're not going to win a starting role in Rookie Minicamp, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But can you go out there and, look good throwing the football and take that prototypical quarterback build and utilize it in such a way that it's a standout situation for you all throughout Rookie Minicamps? When you're in between reps, can you be on the
you need to be physically separate. I mean, like that's what's going to have to happen. When you're doing these reps, do your reps look better than some of the guys who have come before you or some of the guys who are in the building? What do you look like physically stacked up against some of the other hombres around you? He has to separate himself because that's kind of what we're being sold on, right? Is that he's got this elite size, elite arm talent. Well, not elite size, but he's got the prototypical size, the elite arm talent, can make these throws, the arm slots, whatever. Okay, well, this is the time to show it because this is the time where, as far as like pressure, as far as defenders, as far as people like this is the safest space that you will find. So you want to hear reports early that he is spinning the pill.
The hip of the head coach talking to the coach, what do I need to do better? What can I do more of? Going to the quarterback coach, what do I need to do better? What can I do more of? Going to the offensive coordinator, what can I do? What can I do better? What do I need to do more of? Like, can you do? Is he doing all of those things that effectively confirms for the Saints that he was the right quarterback to take at such a high point in the draft relative to their usual rhythm? And so I think that's what this mini camp session becomes all about. He's not going to have an opportunity to stand next to Spencer Rattler and throw a football. He's not going to have the opportunity to stand next to Derek Carr and throw a football. It's going to be him and probably Iowa State / Iowa Western quarterback Hunter Deckers and maybe another tryout quarterback. So he's going to have to show out on his own. It's not going to be him compared to somebody. He's going to have to go ahead and go out there and show that. And so can he do that? Can he show off a little bit of that athleticism? And can he show that he's got kind of, different speeds, different types of throws, different passes, lob when it's necessary, put some touch when it's necessary, gun it in when it's necessary? Can he kind of throttle around and make the right decisions and show that he can do all of those things at the quarterback position? I think those are things you're looking to do. Not a short list, clearly, but a big starting opportunity for Tyler Shough here over the course of this weekend.
You mentioned he won't stand next to Spencer Rattler and throw a football. And look, we know the situation with Derek Carr, or at least what we're allowed to know at this point. And okay, whatever. That'll be resolved and fine. Mm-hmm. You had a piece at LouisianaSports.net today about Spencer Rattler and if he's been ruled out of this too early. Like, it's just, okay, if Carr doesn't play, it's going to be Shuck's job. I'll ask you, has Spencer Rattler been ruled out of this too early?
So I'm starting to see some of this come around. All right. Now, I'm not going to say that I kind of have been driving this boat and I'm the thought leader of this, but I mean, come on. What are we talking about here? But Rattler, I think, and y'all know this, so I've talked about it at length. I think Rattler has a legit shot at this. Big time legit shot. Him and Shuck are so similar where, I mean, you can just flip-flop the names. Same situation. Everything's the same. The only difference is one of them 6'5". That's pretty much it. All right. So it would be insane for Rattler to be truly ruled out before we even get to see. I mean, like Ross just mentioned, like we're not even going to get to see Rattler versus Shuck at rookie minicamp. So we still have to wait. Now, Rattler's been in the building. We know that. We know Rattler's been there. We know that. I'm sure the offensive staff has seen plenty of Rattler throwing the ball around, and they understand what he's all about. So even though they won't be rep for rep right now, there will obviously be a comparison. Rattler, it does have the disadvantage that it's not his coaching staff. Like the coaching staff didn't draft him, but this coaching staff, if Rattler takes a step. If he takes a step and he develops and he's putting in the work and he is a better version of what we saw last year and he is starting that ascent, it's crazy to rule him out.
It certainly feels like it sometimes, but unfortunately it's for understandable reasons. And when I say unfortunately, it's because you never want to see somebody's dreams not come true because of something that they have no control over, right? Like you never want to see that happen. But, and this is a situation here to where Spencer Rattler was the last coaching staff's guy, and Tyler Shough is this coaching staff's guy. Is certainly what this feels like. And so I think getting a fair shake is always going to be a little bit challenging in those situations because, and this is of no fault to anybody, it's just kind of the way that it goes, Ty would go to the runner, and the runner right now is Tyler Shough.
Yeah, and if they are the same, you go with Shuck, for sure. But what if they aren't the same? That's the question. That's the variable. Like I just said 20 seconds ago, I agree. that Rattler has a disadvantage, that Shuck is this staff's guy and, whatever. But that only goes so far. That certainly doesn't disqualify anybody. That they're not going to just play Shuck just because they drafted him. If Rattler is better, why would they sit Rattler? That part doesn't make any sense. The big variable is how good is Rattler right now? How good? Here's the question, and we don't know the answer to this, and we will not know the answer to this for a couple months. We do not know how good Spencer Rattler is. One, in his second season, after everything he experienced, just him isolated. We don't know how good he is, how much he's developed or progressed. And number two, and arguably the biggest, is that we don't know how good he is with starting players around him. We saw last year, sure. We saw last year where, he had Lucas Patrick and Connor McGovern and Dante Pettis and Mason Tipton, but we know what that looks like. But what does it look like when he's got Eric McCoy, Talise Fuaga, Kelvin Banks, Alvin Kamara, Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed? What does that look like for Spencer Rattler? So those two questions have to be answered. And if it's legit, if it's better than Shuck, if it's whatever, I think he'll be the starter. And
so I think from that aspect, it's easy to kind of look past Spencer Rattler and look at Tyler Shuck right now, because you just kind of go, well, it's not that Spencer Rattler's bad. It's not that anybody doesn't like Spencer Rattler. It's just that, well, this coaching staff clearly really likes Tyler Shuck, and it becomes about that instead. And so I think that it is easy in that case to kind of look past Spencer Rattler, but Spencer Rattler has a real opportunity here. I mean, knowing that he faces that, Tyler Shough could be the best thing that ever happened to Spencer Rattler, for all we know.
Yeah.
And so it'll give him a real opportunity when those two do actually get to the point where they're throwing next to each other, one after the other, whatever that looks like during training camp, mandatory mini camps, maybe even OTAs, to where we get an opportunity to really see that competition between those guys get started.
And that's what I'm saying about Tyler having to stand out now. Like, if he can't stand out and blow away the other people who he'll be with at rookie minicamp, some of these other guys who are trying out, he better look like Peyton Manning out there. Because if he can't stand out now, why are we going to think he can stand up against Rattler and potentially Derek Carr? Right? So we need to hear like he is head and shoulders above everybody else. He is letting it rip. He fits the bill, and we're ready to move on to the next challenge.
Talking with Ross Jackson, Locked On Saints podcast, and also LouisianaSports.net, on Twitter at Ross Jackson Nola. Ross, where does Kelvin Banks line up during rookie minicamp, and what can we actually learn from it?
I would assume Banks, right off the jump, is going to be flip-flopping all over the place. Remember, rookie minicamp is probably the safest place to try stuff. I think Banks is going to eventually play left tackle. I think it would be smart to let him just start off there, move Fuaga back to the right, and rock and roll. So I wouldn't get too cute. I know the Saints will move him around because the Saints and Kellen Moore have been preaching versatility with both lines, offensive and defensive. But I would let him get... Now, I guess there's two lines of thinking. Would you rather him get comfortable at left tackle and then try him all over the place? Or would you rather try him all over the place and then let him get comfortable at left tackle?
Yeah, I think if he lines up at tackle during minicamp and does not move, then we should openly kind of look at that as an early indication that he might be playing tackle for this team. And then, depending on if he's at left tackle, right tackle, you take that away too. If he moves around during minicamp, then maybe it gives you a little bit of a different outlook. But look, the Saints put up their rookie numbers on the roster on the team website, and while that's and along with that, they also put up position designations. And while those position designations are far from end all be all, they listed him strictly as a tackle, not as an offensive lineman, not as an interior offensive lineman. They listed him straight up as a tackle.
I mean, I think this is like the worst kept secret ever. Like, he's going to be a tackle. Why would you risk the 9th overall pick? Why would you risk him playing guard? Doesn't it make more sense to have the 9th overall pick play the position that he played exclusively at college, the more important position, the tackle position over the guard position, and move the guy who you didn't pick up as option, move him into left guard, see if he can play, and if he doesn't, play the vet free agent that you picked up? Like, doesn't that make way more sense? So this idea that Banks could play a guard, why? I don't understand the reasoning. I've never understood the reasoning. So I would bet my bottom dollar that he is a tackle. And he may play guard for some reps just to see if he can do it, whatever. But him and Fuaga are going to be your tackles. So I think do it sooner than later. And you certainly don't risk it for the biscuit because of Trevor Penning, who you didn't pick up his option on.
So it gives you an early indication, at least, that that's the position that they expect that he's going to play. We'll see if that holds true throughout minicamp. And so minicamp will either tell us that he's pretty solidly implanted somewhere or that he's moving around and they're still going to figure some stuff out. And then whatever assumption we build from that could absolutely be wrong by the time that the veterans show up, because then they could, end up sticking him in at one place and leaving him there or still moving him around. But, last year we saw Taliesin Fuaga line up at left tackle during rookie minicamps and he never moved. And so there's a chance that where Kelvin Banks ends up during this weekend, it could be the spot from which he never moves.
Where do you think he fits best on the offensive line to give the Saints their best version of the offensive line? I know it's May, but,
Tackle. Again, this is like a Madden fantasy football conversation. Why would the answer be anything but the position he plays? It's tackle. He's exclusively played the position. You drafted him 9th overall.
Yeah, no, it's a little challenging, right? Because it all depends on how you feel about Trevor Penning. Do you feel like Trevor?
They didn't pick up his 5th option. They're telling you how they feel. Move his ass to guard. See if he can play it. If he can't, play Dylan. That's it. Hey, spoiler. Eric McCoy's going to be playing center. Hey, spoiler. Cesar's going to be playing right guard. I mean,
Penning is going to be able to repeat or continue his momentum over at right tackle, and is that enough for you, knowing that Taliesin Fuaga, who played an outstanding season at left tackle, is a natural right tackle? And so if you believe that that is a less advantageous situation to keep Trevor Penning there, knowing that you have Taliesin Fuaga that can bounce over that side, then you would say that the best place for Kelvin Banks to fit would be at left tackle. Then you move Taliesin Fuaga to right tackle, and then maybe get an opportunity to see if Trevor Penning can work moving from tackle to guard. Kellen Moore did a really good job with that with Mekhi Becton last year up in Philadelphia. But the question is, was that about Kellen Moore and his offense, or was it?
Look, again, guys, it's not hard to read between the lines of what's going on. Trevor Penning is on a prove-it season. They did not pick up his option. They're telling him, hey, either you figure it out or you're going to be gone. Simultaneously, they drafted a guy who only played left tackle, 9th overall. Simultaneously, they have a guy in Taliesin Fuaga who exclusively played right tackle in his college career and then played left successfully last year. What does that tell you? That tells you they got the tackle positions figured out. If Trevor Penning is on a prove-it deal, where do you think they're going to ask him to prove it? Left guard. Okie dokie. This one's easy, right? So, best case scenario, Trevor kills it at guard, just like Becton did when he moved inside, and you end up, and they restructure or re-sign or extend or whatever, Trevor, and then you end up with Kelvin Banks, Trevor Penning, Eric McCoy, Ruiz, and Taliesin Fuaga. That's best case scenario.
Is that about the best offensive line coach in football and Jeff Stoutland? And so there's, you got to kind of figure out really where that came from. The other option is that you plug Kelvin Banks in potentially at guard and then leave your 2 tackle bookends, but typically you don't go at, inside the top 10 for.
Again, leave your 2 tackle bookends. You did not pick up one of their options. He is not seen as a tackle bookend. He is not seen as the answer at tackle. Otherwise, they would have picked up his option. They wouldn't have drafted Kelvin Banks.
For guard. And so that would be a little bit surprising, but then you could make that decision later. I think what would be the wisest decision for New Orleans is to put Kelvin Banks at his natural position at left tackle, move Taliesin Fuaga back to his natural position at right tackle, and then see if you can have Trevor Penning work out at guard. The reason why I say that might be the most advantageous thing is because they didn't pick up his 5th-year option. And while that's not necessarily indicative of the fact that he will or won't be on the team moving forward, it is indicative of the fact that they're not willing to pay him tackle money. And so if you're not going to pay him tackle money, then give him the opportunity, or then you give yourself the opportunity as an organization to dictate what kind of money he does get.
Yeah. Exactly. Like they are basically saying, like, look, I mean, this ain't working out, all right? If prove it at guard, if so, we'll extend you as a guard. Not rocket science, ladies and gentlemen.
And so either he gets guard money or he gets backup tackle money. And so if that ends up being the case, then that might be the most advantageous and cost-effective way for New Orleans to move ahead with so many of these first-round offensive linemen that are on rookie contracts right now.
A couple more for you, Ross. And
this is kind of a cheat code too, where financially it's like, okay, you basically use up all of Trevor Penning's rookie contract at tackle, and then right when you have to make the true financial decision, you move him to guard, and then you swap it with a new rookie contract at tackle in Kelvin Banks. So strictly financially, this makes a ton of sense as well.
Very much appreciate your time. All right, we talked about Kelvin Banks. We talked about Tyler Shough. What other draft pick, specifically draft pick, are you just itching to see out there at Rookie Minicamp?
Everyone. Everybody. I mean, literally everyone. But the big three after the Shuckmeister and Kelvin Banks, the big three are going to be Riley, Sanker, and Stutsman. Because obviously Riley, because he's filling a position that we need after trading. I mean, he is literally a replacement for Marshawn Lattimore. His draft pick was part of the trade. So filling out that room. And then Sanker is another guy who is like, he can be everywhere. So how is he going to be used? What's he look like? If those two guys can be impactful early on, secondary looks pretty sweet and very versatile. Stutsman, because one, I like him. I think he's awesome. But two, because if he's awesome and good, like we think, then he will be a guy who's playing day one, snap one for the entire season. And him, Werner, Davis are your linebackers. So, I mean, I guess you could also argue like Broughton. What's he going to look like? What's he going to do? But I think regardless, he's going to be kind of a rotational player. I think a lot of the defensive line is going to be rotational and a play-by-play basis. So I'm excited to see Riley. I'm excited to see Sanker, and I'm excited to see Stutsman. I would probably rank it Stutsman, Riley, Sanker.
I mean, I could make an argument for all nine of these guys, honestly, but I'll highlight going over to the defensive side of the football, Quincy Riley, the Louisville corner. I'm curious, Slade. I don't know how much we're going to see sub packages during rookie mini camps. You know, will we get an opportunity to see them at nickel? Will we just mostly see them in base and stuff like that? But I'm just curious to see where he lines up and what he looks like. I mean, he's got elite ball production, 15 interceptions over the course of his career. It's the most interceptions of any of the corners in this year's draft class. Most interception return yards as well. He's also got punt return experience. So he's kind of, this electrifying athlete. He does a really good job of being able to make a play on the ball when he meets that catch point with wide receivers and things like that. And so I think that is kind of that separator for him that I think highlights a little bit of what it is that he does. And in staying on that side of the football, I'll highlight Fadil Diggs. Look, there's not a lot of seventh-round picks out there that get people really excited, everything like that. But I think Fadil Diggs could be one of those guys that does that.
I think with Riley and all the rookies, what you want to hear is like, yeah, Riley's just dominating people. Like, he's just locking people down. He's different out here. He's a step above. Like, you want to hear that from these guys. You don't want to hear they're competing. You want to hear, like, yeah, they're coming in. There's no learning curve. They are doing exactly what we thought they would do. Stutsman's everywhere. Riley's everywhere. You know, that's what I'm expecting
from that draft position. Like, he can easily outperform his draft position. 6'4", 257 pounds. I'm actually writing a feature on his fit right now over at LouisianaSports.net that'll go out later on today. And he is just the quintessential Leonard Floyd, Samson Ebukam type of stand-up pass rusher off the edge that Brandon Staley had so much success with the Los Angeles Rams and continued that relationship on with Leonard Floyd moving forward as well. And so I feel like a guy like Fadil Diggs, even though he was drafted in the 7th round, because he represents sort of the changing tide of the New Orleans Saints, there's a real opportunity for him to impress. And then I think you're excited to see Devin Neal as well, the running back out of Kansas, just because of all the different things that he can do. And seeing him up against the running backs, I think, is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I wouldn't put Neal up there is because the running back positions, it's so easy to look good early on. Like, that's one of the running back might be the main position where you really don't know until the 11th hour. Like, you really don't know until starting offensive line, starting defensive line, pads are on. Like, can you find the holes? Can you hit the hole? Can you separate? Can you break tackles? Like, running through the pads or running through the machines or running under the chutes. Like, I mean, you can only draw up so many conclusions there.
The last one for you, Ross, and it deals with the undrafted guys. Kind of the same deal. I mean, look, we've had a handful of them on the show since the draft. I mean, they've all been really impressive just from an interview standpoint. But who are a couple of names out of the 11 undrafted guys that Saints fans really need to pay attention to because they could end up on this team?
Yeah, look, remarkably hard to root against guys like Elliot Davison, who's coming in out of UTFA and is a lifelong Saints fan, Dallas Beanham, who is just this like amazing kind of aura of a guy and everything like that. But I'll highlight specifically Jasheen Davis, the edge rusher that's coming out of Wake Forest, for many of the same reasons as Fadil Diggs, is that he comes in and has sort of this experience in a system and doing things that are similar to what Brandon Staley may ask him to do at this level or at the next level. He's a little bit more of a hand-in-the-dirt guy, but just motor, like just never stops running, never stops his effort, just a really, like a guy that focuses on fundamentals. That's a coach's dream, and that's the kind of guy that ends up having a big impact for you, or that could potentially have a big impact for you as an undrafted free agent. We see the Saints oftentimes really lean into UDFAs in the trenches, either making the practice squad or making the active roster. He checks that box. He comes in as a guy that's, kind of similar to a Carl Granderson, and Carl Granderson did that coming out of Wyoming, coming in undrafted, and then figuring out his role as well. I could see a guy like Jasheen Davis being able to do that. And then Tyreen Powell.
If you're going UDFA, obviously you're looking at the receivers, since the receiver is a question mark right now of like, hey, do we probably need to bolster this room? So seeing if any of them can impress, but
this linebacker room needs, a lot more speed, a lot more, depth, all this other stuff. There's such a gap of experience in between, the top of that position group and the bottom of that position group. And so a guy like Tyreen Powell, who also has a lot of special teams acumen, could potentially end up playing his way into a role as well.
He is Ross Jackson, of course, LouisianaSports.net, Locked On Saints podcast. He'll have you covered both those places all throughout rookie minicamp, then into OTAs, training camp. It's the deal. Ross is the best. Y'all subscribe to Louisiana.
I'm the best. All right. Thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Finally, football's here. Even if it's just rookie minicamp, football's here. Stuff's happening. Thank God. Get on down in the comments below, huh? Happy Friday, ladies and gentlemen. TGIF. Couple more hours. Get you a pint. Get you a sneaky pint. Enjoy yourself. Have a fun weekend. Get you a bottle of champagne. Go sit in the closet. Don't tell a soul. Put on some Black Sabbath. Just sit there in the darkness, drinking that bottle of champagne, getting your mind right. Whatever you decide to do. The hell am I talking about? All right, I'll see y'all later.